Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Dean Callan Show. I'm still showing the Eco Spirits. Gotta love that Eco Spirits branding. There we go. Um, so this is episode 74. Oh, no, 76. This is episode 76. And in this episode, you know what? I thought I would just do a solo episode because Mitch is on holidays. And I thought I'd do a rant. Now, originally, what I wanted to talk about was toilet paper. Okay, I don't know how many of you out here go to bars on a regular occasion, or how many people actually work in bars. But for me, if I go to the toilet in anybody's venue, right, doesn't matter what it is, and there's no toilet paper, even if I don't need a number two, right, it's just a courtesy to go back and tell the bar staff, right? And if I'm a bartender working in a bar and someone tells me, hey, dude, you know, that there's no toilet paper in toilet, um, I'm like, thanks, man, because I don't want a customer being, a guest being left in that situation, right? It's not a pretty situation. I think this is why toilets get trashed, right? But anyway, I was thinking to myself, recently, toilet paper has gotten shitty, okay? It's not as good as it used to be. So this used to be my favorite type of toilet paper. The Andrex, you used to see it up the top there until I decided it wasn't as good as it used to be, and I decided to disown Andrex. This is 4-ply toilet paper, and it used to be super soft. It was like baby soft, you know? You could wipe a baby's bottom with it, and the baby would be looking at you like, oh, thanks, Daddy, this was lovely, right? Now, it feels like they've lost their soft touch, right? I just wanted to bring it up because I found a cheaper toilet paper that is actually softer, right? Essential Waitrose. Look at the bulk pack, right? This is a better toilet paper. If you're in the UK, you know, and I don't know much about what this does with the environment and everything, but it looks pretty legit. It's only 2-ply, right? Instead of the 4-ply, but these plies are softer. And I've realized recently that softness is important. You know, I'll never forget, there's a famous bar, very good bar in London called Three Sheets, right? And when I heard Three Sheets, I thought it was like 3-ply, right? As if they were implying that their toilets were going to be the shit. Like you could go in there and, you know, go to the toilet and there was going to be like the sounds of birds chirping, like one of these little jobbies with like the smell of a fresh pine forest pumping out into the room. So the room smelt like, pine forest. This is the environment I like to take a dump, right? Like, and then maybe 3 little like toilet paper rolls, like one with aloe, one that's 4-ply in case, like, you know, you might want to start with the slightly tougher 4-ply that holds its own a little bit more and just get the bulk and then end with the softer stuff, right? And like maybe they've got they've got one of those Japanese toilets where you can heat the seat and press a button and it like cleans everything and sprays your butthole. Wasn't the case. But since then, I've been thinking to myself, what if you had a bar that had great toilets? So far, my favorite toilets in the world are the Savoy, right? So if you ever wondered why, like, I love the American bar at the Savoy so much, it's because of every detail being covered to the point that I can go to the toilet and it's amazing, right? Artesian, same thing, great toilets, just great toilets. Okay, now where was I? Decided instead of ranting about toilet paper, which would just be shit, I would rant about something else. And today, I didn't get my regular order of soda water, right? So I go through a lot of soda water. And normally, I just order everyday Schweppes. But today, because like Ocado didn't have Schweppes, I got this stuff, right? And I realized how like difficult it can be to get these small cans of soda water. The reason I like the small cans of soda water is because, quite simply, See, the bead is different, right? I knew this was going to happen. So, and we'll do our best, but right. This is water with dissolved carbon dioxide, right? When you dissolve carbon dioxide into water, you need, first of all, it needs to be super cold, but like it creates carbonic acid. And when you start drinking it, those little bubbles, they're sharp for a reason because they've got acid in them. And that acid, I'm addicted to. I love the flavor of, like, I love the feeling of carbon dioxide bubbles hitting my face, right? This one, I knew it wasn't going to be as good, right? For some reason, they just nailed this. Now, if you're making Tom Collins's, fizzes, you know, whatever drink with soda, it's beneficial, in my opinion, to have big, heavy bubbles that will allow the carbon dioxide to retain itself in the drink when you make a drink. I also seen recently someone basically on like a bartender forum, and you know what? If you want to see me do an episode where I Skype in a couple of the managers of some of the bigger forums that I follow and just ask them what dumb shit they see, what good shit they see, how do they moderate these things, how do they maintain some form of order on these bartender forums, then let me know, because I'm planning to do that at some point, but I kind of feel if you guys are going to be bored by it, won't do it. We are talking about soda water here though. Right, so someone posted, oh, water sommeliers get in the sea, right? Assuming like everyone else was just going to jump on the bandwagon with them. And I remembered buying this book some years ago. Now, damn the overexposedness of this whole thing. See this? This is Fine Waters. Now, I've bought this book maybe 5 or 6 times because when I meet cool bartenders that are just starting out in the industry, and when I say cool bartenders, I mean people with personality that make me want to sit and talk to them all day, right? They look to me like they're going to be career bartenders. I might give them a book that I find, you know, has been helpful for me. This was super helpful for me. It's an Epicure's Guide to Bottled Water. So it's written by a guy who was a sommelier. His liver kind of cocked it and he wasn't allowed to drink alcohol anymore. Right? Now, this is long before the non-alcoholic wine movement or whatever. You know, like now you can get a lot of non-alcoholic drinks that are quite good. I don't know how old this book is, but it feels like it's got to be 15 or years. It feels like it's been 15 years. I can't even see where the... See, this is how terrible I am with books. I have no idea. Where is the print? 2006, 15 years ago, right? So I've had it for a long time, but basically in it, it breaks down, I think it's 60 plus different bottled waters. It gives you an idea of what to expect. So for example, if a bottled water has a super fine bead, like little tiny, very small, like effervescence, and you drink it and it's like delicate, you know, it will let you know that, and it'll also let you know the mineral content. This stuff is all the way at the other end, the heavy bead, massive big bubbles, lots of dissolved carbon dioxide. Now, in saying that, oh, hey everybody, this is so cool. Right, in saying that, and I get like as many as I can fit in here without it all sitting out to the back of the cabin when I do order the stuff, but these aren't available. They're only available from a couple of online sellers that sell a small amount at a time. You can't order more than 12. So it's been killing me now that you can't order more than 2 of anything. It's been kind of killing me. Anyway, I thought, considering the waste and extra expense of buying tons of these little things, if you're a home bartender and you want to look at like making your own soda water, what would you need to do? So, and I just decided to do this like 40 minutes ago. I spent 20 minutes trying to find that book. So for me, here's a couple of the things that I use in the cabin for carbonating things. First of all, I'm going to start with this guy. Right, everybody knows this. It's a soda stream. Pretty straightforward. You put your little bottle in here and out comes the gas. Right? Cool. They're available everywhere, but you're not going to get like a really like solid amount of dissolved CO2 into the liquid. What I would say, if you want to get the best possible dissolved CO2 into it, make sure the liquid's as cold as you can get it, because in its liquid form, CO2 is super cold, which is why if you release a CO2 canister, they like freeze in your hand. Also a good idea to put a glove on if you're going to do that. Now, these guys, if I can remember how to undo this, come with a quite simple 60-liter CO2 cylinder, right? So that you can buy just about anywhere. If you're in the UK, you can get it from Argos, you can get it from Amazon, you can get it from, what is it, John Lewis, all those other places. So because those canisters are available everywhere, a secondary kind of market has popped up where you can buy backup CO2 canisters and you can have them posted to you, right? So you can have it posted to you ahead if you're doing a guest shift in another country. It arrives in the other country and you can get these, right? Now this guy here, which there's a reason it has an extra long cable. This guy here, you've got that, which is like a CO2 nozzle that you would expect to put on a Cornelius keg. And you got this guy here. So here, if I can put it on there, there you go. So you got your high and low, your plus and minus. That part there screws in to the top of this. So I'll get that out so you can see it. This goes on here, and you've got CO2, right? And if you look, that you can carry anywhere. It's super small. If you're traveling and you want to fly, make sure that the bar at the other end has one of these and you're just carrying that, so you're not going to have any trouble getting on the plane. If you want to use a keg at the other end, you can take this with you and hope the bar has a corny keg, and then you're just putting the tap on the end and you've got a keg of cocktail. But if you're looking to dissolve carbon dioxide in, you need to force carbonate, which takes some time. Speaking of which, these guys here, this is just your everyday, like, single-use plastic bottle, and it's got a steel screw-on. I'm assuming everyone's seen these a million times. If you're a bartender, you've seen it a million times. But for those that haven't, you can buy these online, super cheap. I'll put some links to it. In fact, I'll probably just find it on Amazon, which is really easy to do. And then you can click on the seller from Amazon and buy them off Amazon if you like, wherever you are, because people don't want to keep giving Jeff Bezos all our money, right? He's herding all the grain. So here you go. You got your top. You attach that onto it and leave the gas on, okay? So it's important that you leave the gas on and turn the gas up to around 40 PSI. If you've got it at 15 like that guy there, it's not really going to dissolve and stay. And keep it in the fridge. So I'm just going to dump these here. The good thing about this way of doing it, if you're doing it with a soda stream, you need to create soda water and then add syrup to it. Now, if you're adding syrup, you're adding particulate to the soda water, and the particulate hits the CO2 and causes foam. If you take a bottle of still mineral water, sparkling mineral water, and a bottle of Coca-Cola, and you shake the two of them exactly the same, and then you open them both, the Coca-Cola will fizz for longer because it's got all that sugar and stuff in it. The soda water will fizz, but fizz and die. This one, right? You know that. You felt it. You know how it works. Beer's the same. It's the particulate in there. It's the bits in there. Now, this is basically like gin, lime cordial, and water turned into a soda. I find it really refreshing. It's like a long gimlet. I wouldn't really call it a cocktail, but I drink these between drinks. I'm going to put that back in my fridge. And then here I've got a Sonic vermouth. So this is like discarded vermouth with half water and half tonic water, and then recharged. So it was flat when I started it. It's been in there since this morning. And let's have a look at this, because that was meant for the weekend. But if you have a look, it should be mostly carbonated. Yeah, see, there you go. So it's nicely carbonated. It tastes pretty good, actually. So what I'd do here is click that back on and put it into my rig in the fridge. Now, so that you can understand what I'm actually doing to force carbonate. You do not want to waste that guy going on to here and sit all night, right? You're only going to be able to do one of these every day or 2 days, depending on how cold your fridge is. Here's a video of what I've set up in my fridge using all equipment that you can buy online for relatively cheap. These little like caps are about £10. For about £16, you can get the cap with the gray piece on the top and all the little, connectors that you need, right? And then this is about between 50 and 70 pounds. So you're looking about 100 quid to get 3 of these and then that, right? And you could just charge them, let them sit in the fridge, charge them, let them sit in the fridge. But here's a way that I've found to get around that and make it so that I can charge 5 things at once. I've put it on a video, so I'm not trying to walk over there live, because every time I've tried to do that, it's been a disaster. Right, so bear with me on this video. I shot it like 10 minutes ago. I'm actually hoping it's okay. So you got the gas canister, comes up to here. You can see the PSI right there. You can control it by turning it up and down on this knob. You got your plus and minus there, if I can focus on that. Now, what I've done is I've taken the cable, the cord that normally comes with that, run it out and run it to one of these jobbies. Then put one of the lids that would normally go on the bottles on the top of there, fasten this gas and run that to my manifold. So I can actually unclick that and put it onto my large gas canister if I want to. It doesn't have to be onto this. And I can charge like 5 actual large kegs off my big gas canister using this same rig. And I can put the big kegs, I take this shelf out and I can put a couple of big kegs in here and charge some of the larger kegs. But here, I've just got these bottles here. And if I show you this guy comes out and I can get it out. It will be, I might need 2 hands to get it off. Hold on. God, it's on there tight. Tight. Right, so that guy comes out like that, but when I pour it, you'll see super bubbles. That's a nice big heavy bead. Right, so putting this back. Actually, I might just take all these out for the episode. I'll run through them now. Right, so that's my fridge mini keg kit. I haven't yet, I thought it'd be a cool idea. Like when you buy a tap, you're basically, the black connectors are for letting things go out and the gray ones are for letting things go in. So you're putting gray on your gas and you're putting black on the tap outlet, right? So what I've got a couple of kegs. I'll do an episode on kegs one day because I've got like 10 or 12 different kegs of all, like from little tiny 1 gallon kegs right up to like, 75 liter. I don't know how big that is, but 75 liter kegs. Now these things, I would love to see if anyone wants to make it happen. One of these, right? That like basically there's 2 of those and you screw it onto a large soda bottle, which it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but actually if you could just make 2 liters or 3 liters of pre-batch cocktail and you could attach it onto the gas, charge it until the gas is good, right? Then take that connection off, right? Unscrew your little steel connection, which would let some of the gas out, but you don't want 40 psi running through this when you're running it as a tap. You want to bring it right back down to 15, 17, something like that. You've got your dissolved CO2, and then you bring it down to a pouring, pressure. Imagine being able to screw a thing on and then put a gas canister on and then a tap on, and you take the gas off when you don't need it, and you've got a 2-liter bottle with a tap. You could do tap cocktails. It would be super epic. Closest thing I've got to that, it's actually really tasty, is this. Now, for anyone that has a couple of £100 to spare and super loves craft cocktails that they've created, whatever, this guy is brilliant, right? It's called a Growler Works Growler Cake. And honestly, it's worth every penny. So they come in all sorts of different colors and sizes. This one is a copper one, but there's after I bought these, I'm an early adopter. After I bought these, I realized they come in black. Well, they released black ones later, and this thing hasn't died yet. So I'm kind of like, I will be excited when it dies because I'll get a black one, because black's my favorite color. Siri's speaking to me. Now, the way this works, oh God, there's not a canister in there, is there? Okay, thank God. Right, so the way this works, you got this, and then you've got CO2 canisters like this, right? And these ones are 16 gram CO2 canisters. It's important to understand 16 gram CO2 canisters in beverage quality are not readily available in the UK. You can order them in Germany, in the US, they're huge. Also, 16 gram nitrous canisters are also not available in the UK. You can get the smaller size, but not this. That goes in there. I'm not going to waste a canister. This screws on. Now, the beauty of this, you put this all the way down to low, right? So you've got it turned to 0. You do this, and the gas charges inside here. There's a purge valve in case there's a problem. You're protected. As I said, the CO2 gets super cold. You're protected. The gas is in there. You stick this on. You put whatever you want in here. You stick this on. Before you release it, you make sure the tap is in the closed position. You've got a little gauge here that tells you what your pressure is, and you release and it forces the pressure in, right? You get to about halfway and you've got beer, cocktail, whatever. You open that, out it comes, you close it, it stays in there. This is also double sealed, like there's basically a chamber inside and then a vacant chamber, so it stays cold for a really long time. I can fit that in my freezer to get it really cold with the liquid in it, and then I charge it. And also, I don't own one of these yet. I'm going to get some friends in America to send me them, but I can't even buy them and then have them shipped over to me with my credit card. I need someone American to do it, which is kind of, I know I sound shitty about it, but I just want to buy the thing and not have the problem. So you see that that little steel knob that I had coming out, the little caps that I was showing you earlier on. These guys, basically, they released a different version of this screw-in piece. So imagine it's that with one of those tops. And you put that on, because obviously using 16 gram cartridges to force carbonate would mean that I need to empty an entire cartridge, let it sit overnight, and then take the cartridge out, leaving the CO2 dissolved in the liquid, and put another cartridge in. It's not enough, one cartridge, to force carbonate. It's enough to force the drink through, but not to charge and carbonate. You need a couple of days. Whereas the different top with that, I could put it onto a big tank, let it force carbonate in the fridge for a couple of days, and when I'm ready to go for my picnic, I take my growler, I detach that. I could swap the tops. That's going to stay fizzy. The next smaller CO2 cartridge, this guy going in, keeps it pumping out. I'm happy. Right, so I thought I would have a bit of a rant about CO2 and charging things and how much effort I've gone to ensure that if I want a sparkly drink, I've got a sparkly drink. Ordinarily on this tap, I've disconnected it. On this tap, there's usually Aperol Spritz. And then on this tap, there's usually Negroni, but I've cleaned the lines because we don't have people coming around because of coronavirus. And then you've got your water here. So I think it would be weird if I didn't make a drink. So I wanted to make a drink that I really like. It was a drink also, just a quick note, when you order, if you do order those little steel caps and you try to get it, you spend £100 to get your own CO2 forced carbonation system going, make sure you buy a pack that comes with these guys, comes with lots of these little black rings. They should be shown on the sales, on the website, whatever they're selling it. Photo of those little black rings, because those little black rings, they pop out of this. If they come out of there, you'll connect it and the gas will just keep leaking out. Not a good thing, right? So, little black rings, extras, lots of extras. Where was I? Right, a drink I made a long time ago. I'm going to make a variation on it because obviously I made it for someone as a consultant. I can't just start. Well, maybe I can. They never used it. Anyway, doesn't matter. So, also, so I'm going to get a piece of ice here. Some of my London Ice Studio ice, which I love. I actually really do love the fact that Carlos and the guys sorted me out in such a way that I now can just buy ice in or get ice in. Last time they delivered some for me for free. Right, got my beautiful piece of ice. Next stage. I'm a big fan of highballs, just whiskey and soda, right? When I went to Japan, I bartended at the Tokyo Bar Show. Sorry, I realized that's fallen. And when I was bartending at Tokyo Bar Show, at the Tokyo Bar Show, everyone was really nice, right? I've probably told this story on the show before. They're all just like taking the drinks and walking away, not saying anything. When I went to Osaka, they were like, this drink's not good. And they told me that, like, basically I'm too heavy-handed with everything. I was putting too much Angostura bitters, too much sugar, not enough whiskey in my old fashions. And they just basically, I remade the drinks a couple of times to get my balance to what the guests were asking for, what they wanted. And it was so delicate and so refined that at first it didn't really feel like an old fashioned to me. But after drinking a couple of them, my palate adjusted and I didn't need all that extra sugar and I didn't need all that extra Angostura bitters. My palate adjusted to the Japanese palate, which was more delicate. And since then, and having gone around and tried lots of beautiful, delicate drinks, I've fallen in love with just nice, soft, delicate things. So there was a brand I was working with a long time ago, and this is one of the things I suggested to them. I suggested that, like a highball, they have a bunch of different garnish containers, and we were going to make the garnish containers, and the garnish containers would have pieces of fruit very delicately cut that represent one of the key flavors in a whiskey, right? So they had a range of different whiskeys, and for example, I get pear notes in Glenfiddich, and I would say take the pear and dip it in, there's a really refined powdered Japanese sugar that I gave to them that I brought back from Japan. I'm just going to pour a bit of Funkin' sugar syrup over this to give the same type of effect. The powdered sugar, the idea was you would pick up your garnish, which is in your garnish tray, and you'd have to make sure that they're super, super ripe. And in saying that, this is not the ripest, but I would normally have just taken one, and I'd dip that in a little bit of powdered sugar and then put it delicately into the glass in such a way that it's pinned between the clear ice, which this has not been tempered, and the side of the glass. And now that I've got two in there, it might give the aroma. And these would be covered in just powdered sugar, like very delicate caster sugar. It's white sugar. It was quite refined, but it takes the edge of the alcohol without adding a sticky sweetness. It's almost a savory sweetness. So the Glenfiddich 12. Jesus, where's my Glenfiddich 12? Ah, behind all the other bloody Glenfiddichs. How do I have so many Glenfiddichs all stacked? What happened here? Something's been moved around. Right, so you'd put a measure of Glenfiddich or whichever whiskey it is, whatever drink. It could be, could be Pisco and like, You know, it could be pisco in pairs for all I know, depending on which pisco. We're going to keep saying pisco all the time until we get around to doing an episode on pisco. So if anyone knows anyone who's a total legend expert in pisco, let me know. And then I would just take my soda. So it's basically a highball with a tiny bit of an accent from a garnish that matches the whiskey, which is what they're doing in Japan all the time. My idea was to kind of build the tray, make it part of a ritual, and adding the sugar would help soften the whiskey enough for more of a Western consumer palate, if that makes sense. And then you got that, and just the tiniest bump. Obviously, the more I agitate that, the less CO2 is going to be in it when I actually go to drink it, because all the bubbles will go. And that was my favorite way to build a highball. It's super tasty. It's just like, I know I don't need the sugar. I know I don't need the sugar, but I have a sweet tooth. What can I say? I like sugar. Chris Dennis, I'm on it. Chris Dennis. So that's that, guys. I know it wasn't the longest episode ever. I had a couple of videos I was going to play. I downloaded them this morning, but I thought I'll wait until I've got a more exciting episode. We'll do a whole bunch of exciting stuff, and I hadn't loaded them in yet. So it's really funny, but I've been waiting for something to go wrong for the last couple of episodes, and it hasn't happened. Weird, huh? Nothing went wrong. What am I going to do with myself? Half of this show was just shit going wrong, wasn't it? If anyone, Diogo, you know, man, like, where's all the things going wrong? Got audio, everything seems to be working, right? Cool. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure, guys. And also, oh yeah, wait, actually, I've got an idea. I want to suggest something to you guys. Now, okay, if I get 3 people to say yes, right? If I was telling you a story about my past, and I went, this just arrived like just now, so I haven't practiced because I haven't done it for years. If I was to tell you a story about my time in China, and that story, I just remembered recently the story. And the story relates to how I built training programs and stuff in China and where I was heading before I became a brand ambassador for Bacardi and before I became brand ambassador for Monkey Shoulder. And like when I had planned to go back to building bar programs and opening a bar. And I really, the last time I felt like a proper bartender. If I was to tell you the story and try to solve the Rubik's Cube at the same time, it might take me 5 minutes, but would you be interested in seeing me try to do that? If 3 people say yes, I will try to do it in the next episode. If not, I might maybe pre-record it. That's probably a better idea. Pre-record it instead of doing it live, but then, you know, it could look like I faked it. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much. And if you're interested in any of the kit that I just chatted about, I do realize that this goes out to YouTube and YouTube people don't see it live, which I do want to move to YouTube, but I want YouTube to have more followers than the Facebook before I move it. Whichever one's got the most followers is the priority at the moment, right? Do it. Yay, that's 3 yeses. Thanks, guys. So the next time I'm gonna practice it so it doesn't take too long, and then I'm gonna do it the next time, okay? Because I haven't done it in so long. Unless I just outro with it. Fuck it. You know what? I'm gonna try. This is gonna be embarrassing. Right. So, can I tell the story and do it? So, right, when I first moved to China, it was like 2007. I moved to China, and when I got there, there were very few like English-speaking people, you know, in China bartending, right? Obviously, like English-speaking people, expats were able to get jobs in positions that kind of gave them a bit more money than a bartender would get paid. Bartenders basically got paid nothing, and the community there that wasn't really keen on paying bartenders a lot of money, right? So even if you were a bar consultant, you didn't really get a lot of money. And the best bartender in China, lovely guy, I'm sure, right? The very first time I met him, he come up and he shook my hand in the kind of way, you know, like macho men shake hands, grab my hand, put his other hand on my bicep, squeeze my bicep, and was like, hello, my name is Sebastian. I am the best bartender in China. And I just arrived, right? I was the most arrogant person in the world. I was like, you know every single bartender in China? And he said, no, of course not. And I was like, well, how do you know you're the best bartender in China? And he hated me from there on in, right? Totally hated me. It was like the worst introduction to the scene I could have ever possibly imagined, because this guy, turns out, like, was one of the best bartenders in China, and like he ran a bar called Bar Rouge on the Bund in Shanghai, which was quite big. I'm forgetting how to do this now, but basically, I started working in a bar. There were 5 different bars that were owned by the same company, and I started training the staff. Now, when I started training the staff, I couldn't speak any Chinese. And I realized very quickly that the Chinese staff were not very keen on Western people coming in and shouting at them and belittling them in front of others, right? You basically don't do that in Chinese culture. They lose face. And when they lose face, they just wouldn't talk to you again. It wasn't cool, you know? So I thought, how do I train them in such a way that they learn how to do things, but I'm not like telling them they're doing stuff wrong in front of others, right? So what I started to do was I started to record them doing, like, making 5 drinks. I've forgotten how to do this. Damn, what am I going to do here? Record them making 5 drinks. And then, what have I done? I'd record them making 5 drinks. And then I'd show them how I would do it, right? And when I showed them how I would do it, I didn't like tell them. I just did the same thing, and I'd recorded them and I recorded myself, and I showed the 2 videos next to each other. I put just the person over, not the whole room. Someone else is getting warmed up and setting up their station. It was all water in the bottles, and it was all real drinks that were on the menu. And I would point at the screen, and you know, if I needed them to not pour like this, but instead pour like that, they could see my hand go straight up and cut, and their hand going like that. And I'd point, and then I'd show them the time difference. This training took off, right? People loved it. The staff loved it. I ended up getting, you know, hired by Bacardi to start doing training around China. And what I found is when I started training people in China and outside of, you know, Shanghai, where they kind of spoke quite a bit of English in Shanghai, I went to towns where not only did, and that's it, done. Not only did they not speak any English, but when I was being translated across to them, the passion was lost. If I was trying to tell them that, like, look, it's super important to relearn these basic skills. It's super important to build 5 at a time. It's super important. It just was lost. So what I started doing, and here's a trick that I really like. What I started doing was I started taking, and I had an amazing, you know, meant to be called assistant, but he wasn't. He was the real BA. He was a Chinese guy doing the same job as me. We worked together as a team. He would translate to them, right? I'd go to a bar, and there's a lot of staff, and there's always going to be a couple of key bartenders that are really arrogant, or not arrogant, maybe just strong-willed, and you can see which ones are the senior bartenders. Other bartenders are handing them cigarettes. I don't know why, but for some reason, when you get given cigarettes in China, it's like a sign of respect. Chunghua, the 20 milligram or something cigarettes, I used to smoke. They'd always give me cigarettes. But you see someone giving this guy cigarettes or that girl cigarettes, that's the person. So I would mess it up, throw it to one of the staff, get them to mess it up. They'd throw it back. And then I kind of got everyone's attention, and I'd quickly solve it. And when I solved it, I'd say this speech. I'd say, I'm, for the next couple of days, going to be training you very simple things that you already know how to do. I'm going to teach you to make drinks. You already know how to make drinks. I'm going to teach you how to build drinks. You already know how to build drinks. I'm going to teach you how to move in the bar. You already know how to move in the bar. But right now, building drinks, moving in the bar, remembering recipes, you know, pouring beers, all of this is this. It's that first phase. Now, you can solve that phase. You're a bartender, you can already do that. What I'm going to try to do is teach you how to solve this phase in such a way that you're solving this one at the same time. Because I need you to relearn the skills to have a system that allows you to learn the skills my way so that you can move from just the face to the face plus elements of the side. And then I can then come back, you can teach you more, and you'll have the face plus these elements plus these elements. Then these elements, and then this. This is just a bartender. This is a head bartender. This is the bar manager, bar supervisor. This is the general manager. You're seeing more of the picture, and I can't help you here, but that is when you become an owner and you have your own business. And I won over a lot of people with that and inspired them with that. And I'd forgotten all about it until a couple of days ago. And now I kind of want to figure out if there were 54 things that you need to learn. And this is, you know, hiring staff, paying VAT, whatever. You know, what are those 54 things? And I'm going to try to, you know, dive into that and come up with a full cube training program if I ever do open a bar. Anyway, been a pleasure. I'm glad that worked. And yeah, until next time, cheers. Take care of yourselves.